Hello, and welcome to this edition of the EMS Spotlight, where we speak to EMS executives about their companies and the industry in which they operate. Our guest today is Mr. S Gujral. He's the Managing Director of Syrma SGS Technology. Syrma is a Indian-based EMS company. They are actually ranked number 68 on our recent list of top 100 EMS and ODM globally. JS is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and he has over 39 years of experience in electronics manufacturing sector. And I'm sure he has a lot of good advice and thoughts to share with us today. So, JS, welcome. And why don't you begin by giving a brief introduction to yourself and your company?
Thank you, Eric, for having me on this talk. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Well, if I was to sort of sum up the journey of Syrma SGS, the journey in the present avatar started in 1990, but the first generation before us was into electronics manufacturing in 80s and 90s, and they were by far the largest exporter of electronics from India. That is Sandeep's father, Mr. M.L. Tandon. He very successfully ran manufacturing in India, Sri Lanka, and Singapore. And Tandon Electronics were the first guys to invent the double head or a floppy disk drive, and they were exporting it and supplying it to IBM. And they were also vendors to Apple. But somehow in the 90s and the early 2000s, manufacturing was not the flavor for the government of India. And hence it was easier to import from China or other places than to manufacture in India. We had inverted duty structures and everything. So Mr. Tandon sold off his business to Jabil Electronics. His son, Sandeep Tandon, who's the chairman of the board of Syrma SGS, restarted the business somewhere in 2005-06. So Syrma started in 2005-06, SGS, 4 professionals, 4 friends. We started the business in 1990, and both of the businesses were successful, mutually exclusive. We were not stepping on each other's toes. And somewhere towards the 2018, 19, 20, when we saw the Indian economy opening up and manufacturing finding flavor with the government, we believed it was best for the two companies to merge so that we create a bigger entity and bid for global contracts and go big. Mm-hmm. And the way we had envisaged, it has panned out exactly like that. We were about $100 million company. Both the companies put together were about $100 million at that point of time when we merged. And today, 4 years down the line, we are almost like $500 million company, $500 million company, with the 26-27% coming in from exports, predominantly into automotive, industrial. So the way we had envisaged, God has been kind, business environment has been good, and it has panned out exactly.
Yeah. That's a great history. Thank you for that. That was very interesting. So what then do you see as kind of your core differentiators today, especially as they're evolving compared to contract manufacturers in other regions?
See, if I was to again split this thing into two, one is over differentiation for exports, and one is for differentiation in the domestic, where there are two separate cups of tea. In the domestic industry, we have been very predominantly established in the automotive, both ICT and the EV and industrial sector. And by and large, any of the customers in these two verticals, if and when they decide to look for a contract manufacturer, invariably they would approach us. We have a very strong toehold. And the differentiator is again trust, transparency, and we are the extended arm of our customer. So our teams have to be sort of very closely integrated with the purchasing teams of my customer, with the engineering teams of my customer. And they have almost like a daily or a weekly interaction, formal and informal. The customer has to be given that assurance that his line or his thing will go uninterrupted if they offload to the work off to us. Transparency, ethics, efficient, timely delivery without reminders. Those are some of the sort of soft skill sets. And now when we are becoming a company which is getting integrated into the global supply chains, whatever we learn from our global customers, we try and sort of replicate it for domestic customers also, even if they don't ask for it. So that's a added advantage which they get. And integrating with the global supply chain also means that you may have access to the pricing at which the global corporations are purchasing, because the volumes are simply too large. The Indian corporations, customers may have a comparatively smaller volume, so they may not have the pricing advantage.
Right.
But if you know that a component is being bought at, say, 10 cents, I may be buying it at 12 cents. So I know there's a gap of 20%, which over a period of time I have to sort of manage and extract it from my vendor. Now, if I share this information with my customer, he feels delighted that there's a scope for reduction. So that's the transparency level as far as the domestic thing is concerned. Exports is a different cup of tea. Culturally, USA, America, Japan, they are different than India, 8,000 kilometers away. So we have to give them that added comfort, which we may not have to give it to an Indian customer because he's sitting next door. And culturally, we are the same. Fortunately for us, as I explained it in my opening sort of remarks, exports is in our DNA. We have been exporting since 96. And Sandeep, in his with his father, has been servicing global clients since 80s. So if he's grown up seeing how global clients are serviced. And that DNA, I think, is very, very critical. And I'm very happy that our company and the employees down the line have that DNA to service an export customer. Things which to a Western world or a Western company may look very, very normal. For us, at times, it could be a game changer or different. For example, if I have to reply to my global customer, one way is, okay, we'll revert back to you on 15th of March, period. But I think if you say, I'll revert back to you 15th of March, this Indian time or Eastern time or European time, it shows that we are sensitive to the time difference, which we have a 4.5, 5 hours difference with Europe and maybe 8, 10, 12 hours with USA. Now, these are very soft skills, which I'm not saying would earn you business, but they earn you the respect of the customer, all your stakeholder, that look, this guy is sensitive to me and he's taking care of the timelines. So these are small issues which sort of evolve. You learn when you deal with global customers.
I appreciate how you're talking about that customer intimacy, because I think that is key. And I think it's almost like you have to be hand in glove with your customers, right? As you're talking, right? They need to be that close. And the example you just shared, I think, is a brilliant one, because that is oftentimes, how do you communicate and when do you communicate, and showing sensitivity to that is, as you say, a soft skill, but yet a critical one still. So
yes.
Now, let me ask you, you mentioned a few times some of the industries you're in. How do you see demand evolving across your key end markets over the next 12 to 24 months?
Okay. I see a robust demand. I take this Middle East conflict as an aberration, as not as a routine. So assuming it remains an aberration, I see a very robust pipeline and growth in the demand, both in the domestic and export sector. Exports, we have grown about 27% this year. And our year ends on March, which is, if we close the year, financial year yesterday. Cumulatively, if I take the 4-year CAGR, it will be about 20 plus 22%. This year has been a better year. Now, neither US nor Europe or key markets have grown at that rate. What is fueling our growth is that we are able to win a better wallet share from our existing customers because of the services which we render.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the quality of growth is more important than growth per se. And what I refer to is quality of growth. If my customer is growing at 5% or 10%, and I grew at the same percent, well, I'm doing what my competition is doing.
Yeah.
But if my customer is growing at 5% and I am able to grow at 15% with him, it means I'm doing something which is delighting my customer such that he's giving me the higher wallet share.
Yes.
So we very closely monitor not the growth per se, but the quality of growth. So if the automotive industry, for example, in India is growing at 25% and I'm growing at 35%, it means I'm able to A, extract a higher wallet share from my customer or attract new customers.
Right.
So to me, these are the two parameters, my growth versus my customer's growth, my growth versus industry.
Yeah.
If I'm able to better that 4, 5, 6, 7 percentage points, it gives a lot of satisfaction. India, for example, the growth is phenomenal currently because of the government policies, increasing spend, economy growing. If the industry is growing again, same 10%, and I also grow at 10%, well, I've achieved, but I've not done something special so that I can pat my back or my team's back.
Yeah.
So we find that going forward, we see a distinct possibility of growing at about 25-30% for the next 3 to 4 years. I'm not even restricting to 2 years. And what gives us the confidence is that the pipeline of customers from global sort of domain which we have gives us the confidence that going forward, that is 1 year down the line, not in this year, but beyond 1 year to 2 years, those global customers would give me a decent amount of growth such that I'll continue to grow at 25, 30, 35%, anything between 25 and 35%. And that's the rate at which I've grown for the last 4 years.
Okay. You mentioned both the domestic and the export markets and how you're doing there. So how do you then balance kind of global expansion with localized manufacturing requirements from customers?
See, we have a factory in Germany, which is essentially a design and integration setup. Currently, we are not facing challenges from servicing the customers from India. But my personal assessment is that going forward, we would require a presence, a manufacturing presence near to the customer. Into a geography or sort of is in North America, NAM or whatever.
Yeah.
We are present in Germany, so that gives us a good toehold and a comfort to the customers that they have to dial a 0049 instead of 0091. And similarly, I think when our exports to America cross a certain threshold, they are currently about 25% of my total exports. Then I personally believe that as we grow, we would require a physical manufacturing presence. It could be a integration setup, or it could be whatever. We would require that because at times there are some industries which require a made in that country product. So you do the heart outside and you do the box build and integration in the host country. So you meet the requirements.
Yeah. And OEM engineers sometimes like to be close to their baby when it's being developed, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You have that as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
So from, I when I think about the EMS industry, and I just was at a trade show here in North America a few weeks ago, you see all the equipment and all the automation and all the innovation and the high technology and everything coming there. And AI seems to be driving a lot of that, right? Or at least they say it is. So how are you integrating new manufacturing technologies into your operations?
Okay. Now, in terms of the equipment which go into the manufacturing of electronic products, which is essentially the SMT lines, the
Yes.
AOI, the X-rays, and the inspection equipment, we have the best of the world. So if I'm buying a SMT line, I would buy of the vintage, which is 2026 and
Mhm.
not 2020.
Gotcha.
The only difference between us and a Foxconn or a big company is that they would have 25 lines of the same vintage under one roof. We may have 5 or 10.
Right.
So in terms of manufacturing systems, manufacturing equipments, I think we are comparable to the best in the world. Second is the processes and systems. We run our factories on HANA, SAP, S4, which is again a global thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have end-to-end MES systems bar-coded to sort of control the processes and quality machines talking to each other.
Yeah.
And on top of it, we keep adding softwares and things which are assisting us in improving quality and improving efficiency. So whether it is using Mentor graphics or Siemens for NPI of bombs, whether it is using ARC systems for real-time monitoring of performance of SMT lines, or having AOI integrated in our optical inspection systems such that the machines talk to the previous machine, communicate what is the fault. We have those things.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing which in India we may not have is robotic material handling.
Mm.
Because to us, we have a social obligation of generating employment. And it's basically a cost versus business benefit. Should I have a robot bringing in a material from my factory, from my warehouse to my machine,
Yeah.
when a worker costs $400 a month?
Yeah.
Does a robot sort of pay off that or not? Now, if the
Yeah.
worker was to cost $2,000 a month, then it would be different, $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
But in all critical factors, whether it is optical inspection, whether it is sort of paste inspection, whether it is functional testing, we have the latest equipment, test equipments, flying probe testers, and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all these equipments currently have the provision of integrating proprietary softwares to bring in AI so that predictability and all those things sort of comes into place. And we are doing that. And as I said, ARC system,
Mm-hmm.
I think we are the only Indian company to have implemented it.
Oh,
When we
wow.
started it off in mid of 2025, the
Mm-hmm.
global companies have it. Now other companies will follow. And we constantly endeavor to improve our processes and have certifications which are not only mandatory, but which add value.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm told by the certifying agency that we are the only company in the country, the first company in the country, India, to have a TISAX certification. This is a Trusted Information Security Exchange Protocol,
Yeah.
which is very commonly used by global automotive companies. So we onboarded a global client somewhere in mid 2025. It'll see volume production next year. So he said, "Do you have this?" We said, "No, we don't have it." And honestly, maybe my teams are not even aware of it.
Mm.
But in about 6-7 months' time, we worked whatever it is and we got the certification.
Mm.
And now when I give that certification to all the other existing automotive customers who had not asked for it, they feel
Mhm.
delighted.
Yeah, yeah, I bet they are. Yes. You know, it's interesting because we're talking about all the tools there, but then to utilize those tools and make that into really true operational excellence is the magic, right? And I know
Yes.
you've talked about this as far as I think you call it, doing things right. I think I've heard you say. So,
Yeah.
so what are your top priorities for operational excellence over the next year?
My top priority for operational excellence is A, how do I reduce whatever defects are there in the process? They may not be there in the end product.
Hmm.
So I may be at whatever, what 30 pieces per million or 40 pieces per million, whatever it may be, at the customer end. But that is after it has gone through inspections of each process. How do I reduce the in-process defects?
Yeah.
Because that's the key. How do I sort of automate the thing that my teams come to know in advance that something is going wrong? It may not have gone wrong, but if a tolerance is plus minus 5, and if all the pieces are within plus 5 and there is nothing in minus, it means my process will slowly and steadily cross the plus 5 limit.
Mm.
Today, these informations are available and they are tabulated and they are a sort of thing. But with I think these red signals would come automatically on the machine. Look, buddy, it is 100 plus minus 1. You're
Hmm.
always at 100.5. You're never below 100. Your
Yeah.
process is not right.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
And training and skilling of the people. You see, the tools are available and tools are as effective as the competency of the person who
Yeah.
uses the tool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want my teams to be slave of the proverb, the buzzword AI,
Right.
I would say, or machine or whatever.
Yeah.
They should have the competence to control that AI
Okay. Yeah.
and milk it for better efficiency or
Yeah.
better results.
Yeah. You make a good point there about the quality of the people, and it does come down to that ultimately. So, I don't think you have any labor shortage issue within India, but what you have is kind of a skilling, right? You have to upskill, you have to train, you have to upskill and constantly upskill for that. How are you addressing that, especially as they develop into more advanced manufacturing processes?
So this is the biggest challenge which we are facing. And this challenge is compounded by the fact that the industry is growing very fast.
Hmm. Yeah.
When an industry goes fast, new players would come into the play.
Yeah.
And when new players come into the play, the first thing they do is pick or sort of have a pool of talented manpower.
Hmm.
And they sort of poach is a wrong word. They would pick up the people from the industry so that that's their core moat or base on which they develop their own overall systems.
Hmm.
Now, it gives me a sense of satisfaction, and it's also a bit of not exactly a frustration, a challenge that our people are valued in the market. If someone has to pick up a guy, they would say pick it up from Syrma SGS.
Hmm.
Or if my guy goes with his profile or biodata or CV, and they say Syrma SGS, he has almost passed 50% of the test and only his personal behavioral things would
Yeah.
be more important than the compensation because they know that we train our people very well. So it's
Hmm.
a sense of satisfaction that we are doing something for the industry. But at the same time, we are the port of first call whenever a new competition comes up to poach our employees.
Okay.
Now, to overcome that, we have a very structured training programs in our factories.
Hmm.
We multi-skill a person. uh, and we constantly monitor, move him up the value chain. We ensure that he is certified not only internally for various functions like IPC and other things, but also goes through third-party external certification programs.
Okay.
So it's a constant sort of grind which we have to do. But I
Hmm.
think without that, you can't run a successful company because the equipments are the same.
Yeah.
It's the people who are managing the equipment which make all the difference between
Yeah.
zero rejection or whatever.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I'm thinking about from a sustainability and ESG perspective, which is very important these days. How are ESG goals influencing maybe your customer contracts and even maybe your capital allocations?
See, ESG is something which is very, very close to our heart. And even where we have not been mandated by regulators or by customers, we follow a very strict and structured ESG program. We employ almost 50% workforce as women. That's very close to our heart. And these are women who are coming in from the so-called deprived sections of the society, and the
Mm,
salary and the training which they get, it's a game changer for them and a confidence building exercise for the women. So I think
mm,
it's a transformation which happens in the society.
yeah.
We are very focused on carbon footprints. We have mapped scope 2 carbon footprints. Third, scope 3 is going on. EcoVadis is a global certifying agency. They audited our factories, and this time we got a gold medal. Last time we had a bronze. A
Mm,
gold medal means that we are among top 5% companies globally which are meeting the ESG standards and norms.
mhm.
The best is platinum. So the challenge is how do we go from gold to platinum? On our own, there was no mandatory requirement. We have signed up with STBI. It's a, I think, England-based, London-based firm, which is scientific target-based initiative.
Okay.
So we are now in the process discussions with them to set our targets for the next 10 years and how do we meet the targets which the global companies or the watchdog is saying by
Mm,
2030 or 2050. We are putting up a new PCB plant. It's not EMS. We are putting
mhm,
up a new PCB plant where we just finalized the ETP. There were two options to us. Let the water be treated to a level and go back into the drain or whatever it is,
right.
or have a recirculation mechanism. Now, even at the expense of cost going up by about 40-45%, I think it may be 40-45% of my effluent treatment plant. We are putting up a plant which will recycle 80% of the water discharge of a
Mhm.
PCB plant. And PCB plant is like a thirsty camel. It takes a lot of water. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of water. Now, that's over. I think it will be the greenest PCB plant in India
Mm,
with the latest technology where 80% of the water is recycled
yeah.
and only 20% is discharged into the common effluent treatment plant and further treated and then into the subsoil or whatever it is. So I think we are very, very clear on that. And now I think it is, we believe that this is one of our unique selling points when we talk to our global customers for the first time.
Yeah.
Apart from
Absolutely.
the quality and this certification, but these are, I think they are a unique selling point. They don't expect it from a homegrown Indian company. And
Hmm.
many of them are pleasantly surprised
Yeah.
that the management is forward looking and investing in that.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And I was going to ask you that, so I'll just ask it now about where you see opportunities to expand into new value-added services in the market. And that's an excellent example, the PCB side. I saw that recently in Europe, there's a company who just built the first PCB factory in 20 years in Europe was launched last year. So that's a great example. Are there other areas where you see you're able to expand or opportunities expand into other value-added services?
The other value-added services which we are already expanding into is wound components, that is the magnetics,
Hmm.
wire harnesses,
Okay.
and camera modules.
Mm.
And the PCB one also includes a copper-clad laminate plant. So the main raw material of the PCB, which is copper-clad, would in the coming years be made in-house.
Okay.
So we'll not be importing a laminate and then making a PCB. We'll be making the laminate also in-house.
Okay. I see. So related to that, obviously you're expanding services in response to customer need and demand. So what challenges are your customers expressing most often to you these days, and how do you position yourself to address those?
See, electronics industry, the challenges are they go in cycles.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when the demand plateaus out, the investments go down. Then all of a sudden the demand comes up. The investments are not there. And the latest is the memory chip shortage.
Hmm.
Memories are just not available
Right.
because everyone moved up the value chain.
Yeah.
And the basic memory which is required to run a mobile phone or a set-top box or anything is just not available today. 2 years ago, it happened with semiconductors.
Hmm.
So I think having stability and a resilience in the supply chain, which means our supply chain teams need to have ear to the ground and be aware of the latest trends. I don't think that customers express a reservation on a micro level. On a macro level, when things go bad, then there is a challenge. And the strength of the company is how fast it can sort of recover or mitigate the damage.
Yeah.
Now, if a memory is in shortage, it is in short supply. You can't do anything about it. But either you just give up with the hands or you have various sources of supplies so that the negative impact is mitigated.
Hmm.
Negative impact will be there.
Yeah.
Now, currently, the copper prices, the base metal prices are all shot through the roof. The petroleum has gone up. Where the moment petroleum goes up, plastic goes up, polymers goes up, PCB goes up. How do you mitigate that?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like the pain that I hear from other EMS dealing with their customers. I think
Yeah.
you're not unique in that respect. So, um, listen, as we look forward, we're starting the second calendar quarter today, right? April 1st. What what's your outlook for the rest of 2026 for Syrma?
See, I think we'll grow this year also at about 25 to 30%. 30% is the growth which we are looking at. And to me, again, as I say, growth per se is not
Right.
important. Now, when I talked of the quality of growth on the sales front, for
Hmm.
me, quality of the growth in the balance sheet and P&L
Hmm.
is that my EBITDA should also grow up by commensurate percentages.
Hmm.
Plus, I should be generating a free operating cash flow.
Hmm.
If whatever I earn is locked up in debtors and inventory
Yeah.
and nothing in the bank, my shareholders are not going to be happy.
Yeah.
They would say that you have to give dividends, you have to borrow money
Hmm.
because whatever you have earned is locked up in the inventory and debtors.
Yeah.
So to me, the quality of this growth has to be accompanied by commensurate increase in absolute profit figures
Hmm.
and a positive operating cash flow, which is very key. And
Okay.
I think in majority of the companies in the EMS sector in India,
Hmm.
this is the biggest challenge, managing the working capital so that you generate cash flows.
Yeah.
And if you don't generate cash flows, then the cycle becomes tough. You keep paying interest to the banks.
Yeah. So ask you to make a prediction here. What would success look like for your organization, say 3 to 5 years from now?
Uh, I think we have visibility of at least the next 3 years. 5 years is just a plan.
Yeah.
If we grow at about 25-30%, we should be crossing the $1 billion mark in about 2 years, and maybe a $2 billion mark in about 4 years. That a 30% compounded growth year on year should take us to that. And to me, it is that revenue is critical, but value is more important. So I have to, and my teams are fully working on how do we add value, increase value. And that increased value would come in from design content. So today, my ODM, which is my own design manufacture, is about 14-15%. How do I increase it to maybe even 17%? 14% of 500 million is 70. 16% of 700 millions is 112. 70 to 112 is almost like a 50%, more than a 50% increase, 60% increase. That is, I think, where long-term profitability and growth things lies. So if you have your design, you add value, the stickiness of the customers, which is very strong in our EMS industry, further goes up.
Listen, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you one last question as a senior executive within one of the larger, more successful EMS in India about your opinion of the EMS market within and the potential within India. I was there for the first time last year. I got to visit Syrma as one of those, but I also I was struck by the fact you have a lot of international companies, you have a lot of domestic market, you have large ones, you have a lot of small ones. I even met some who had just started within a year or two, right? So it's a very attractive market. But what is your opinion of the overall potential there in India?
See, I'll just share 3 data points on this. The per capita consumption of electronics in India is about $78 to $80. The global average is about $378 to $380 or $390. And in the developed countries like US and Scandinavian and Japan and other countries, it is close to $1,200 to $1,300. Now, if we are the 4th largest economy in the world, and still, if my per capita consumption is 20% of the global average, approximately 20% of the global average, I think it gives us a lot of headroom for growth. If from $80 I was to go to $160, $80 per capita on the population which we have, I think the market is humongous. And how will this growth come? The GDP is growing at 6 to 7% after accounting for inflation. Otherwise, it's about 10%, 10, 11%. You cut the inflation, it comes to about 6, 7%. Young population, industry growing, disposable incomes growing. And once the disposable income grows, the first spend is on electronics, a refrigerator or an air conditioner or a BLDC fan or a two-wheeler scooter or anything, or a mobile phone or a every single thing has electronics in it. And going forward, the value of electronics per unit is going to go up phenomenally. As a reference point, a two-wheeler ICT, petrol-run two-wheeler scooter, has electronic content of close to $5. $6 essentially on the lighting of the scooter. That's about it. Nothing on the engine. Whereas electronic in a two-wheeler EV is approximately 24,000 rupees, 15 to 24,000 rupees, which translates into $300. So one ICT, I get a 3,000 rupees revenue. One EV, I get a 15,000 to 24,000, 5x to 8x revenue.
Yeah.
Now, same would apply to a BLDC fan, to a BLDC motor controller for a pump, or a air conditioner, or a four-wheeler EV. So going forward, the demand is going to come in both from the volume of sale because of the population and the value of electronics, which is embedded into that product.
Yeah.
So we have two to tango.
Yeah. You have some very good winds, tailwinds there, as they say, to kind of ride into the future. Those are all, I appreciate the way you laid that out. Those are three very important and very interrelated elements that should
Yes.
spell continued success for the industry there. So, Jazz, you have been very generous with your time with me today, with your insights. I think this has been fantastic. I appreciate that. I'm sure the audience will appreciate your thoughts and comments on everything as well. So I want to say thank you, sir, for your time, and hopefully at some point in the future we can speak again and hear about the continued success of
Yeah.
Syrma.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Pleasure is all mine. And it's a pleasure interacting with your very incisive and industry-specific questions. Your knowledge is something which we have to learn from. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.